Okay, on part 49, we left off with talking about the different messages and how many photos and calls and such as that were in Christian and Nicole's phone. So going into part 50, we're actually going to look at the searches from the phones, and we're starting with September the 1st, 2017. Cassinger searched the internet for the name Shanann Watts. Okay, and if you will see this, many people still, for some reason, want to claim that this was a typo, and many people actually believe it was a typo. However, Rourke actually confirmed this was not a typo. Absolutely not. And it's been shown many places where Rourke actually did confirm that. And it's in one of my videos in the Exposing the Mistress series that I did. And I can't really tell you which one because I can't remember exactly which one of those videos it's in, and it's possibly in more than one of those. But if you haven't seen my Exposing the Mistress series, I will put it right here as well as link it at the end. This is actually the playlist, and there is like, I'm not sure, I think it's 4 or 5 different videos. There's part 1 A and B, part 2 A and B, the final chapter, and I actually do plan to do a revamped video of all those combined at some point in the very near future. But if you haven't seen those are like some of the first ones I ever put on this channel, so feel free to go see them. They're pretty interesting. May the 29th, 2018. 15:40 hours, and that is 3:40 p.m. Shanann began filming in the kitchen of 2825 Saratoga. She stepped in front of the camera briefly to show up her shirt with the embossed words, "Oops, we did it again." When she stepped out of the camera's view, Dieter, the family dog, ran off to welcome Watts. As Watts walked into the kitchen, he halted mid-stride and stared in Shanann's direction. His confused expression transformed into a grin, and he walked to her saying, "We did it again." When Watts returned in view of the camera, he is holding a pregnancy test, and they discussed the positive result. Watts leaned in, kissed Shanann, and with a large grin says, "I guess when you want to, it happens." Wow. 76 days later, Shanann, her unborn child, Bella, and Celeste were murdered. Also, May the 29th, 2018, Cassie and Josh Rosenberg, friends, told Watts they have completed and are submitting employment applications in Colorado. Josh added congratulations to Watts on Shanann's pregnancy. June the 14th, 2018. Watts created nearly 200 contacts in his work phone. Now that's an odd time, June the 14th, that he would add 200, almost 200 contacts into his work phone. These included co-workers, Shanann and Nikki Cassinger. So it's just odd that he would do all of these contacts like on this day. Why weren't some of his work people and Shanann, why weren't they already in his contact list? But they weren't. But no, he just decides on the 14th he's just going to blanket add contacts in a work phone. And of course, Nikki, that was the day he added her in there as well. But he added her work number, like her office number, as well as her cell number. So there was 2 entries for her, but then the nearly 200 more, whatever, was just random work people and Shanann. Does he work with that many people? Weird. And then 3 days later, on June the 17th, Chris tells Tony Brown, the co-worker, "Thanks again for covering for this weekend. Last weekend with the kids means a lot. I owe you one." And just that whole statement there seems kind of odd as well to me. We do have Anthony Brown's interview. It's a really emotional interview. If you've never heard it, you can find it here, and I will link it at the end of the video as well. June the 19th, 2018, 10:10 a.m. Watts told Tony Brown, "I have to check out by 2 today for a doctor appointment. If anything comes up later in the day, I will let you know." June the 22nd, 2018, Shanann and Chris traveled to San Diego to attend a Thrive convention. Still, June the 22nd at 3:07 p.m., 15:07 hours, Watts created an entry in the contact list of his personal phone titled APC Health Safety Environmental. The phone number entered is the 720 number, which is Kessinger's personal cell phone. And he done this on the day that they traveled to San Diego. Still, on June the 22nd, at 17:35 hours, that is 5:35 p.m., in San Diego, while with the Rosenbergs, Shanann and Chris stayed at the Seaport Tower, Manchester Grand Hyatt, and that evening ate at a restaurant named Season 52. Subsequent photographs taken over the next 2 days by this phone denote assorted coordinates around the San Diego Convention Center. June the 26th, 2018. Watts told Troy McCoy, a co-worker, "I landed last night around 2 a.m. I'm around all day if you need to ask me something." McCoy replied, "Okay, cool, buddy, get some rest." Chris responded, "LOL, you're crazy. Kids are out of control." And that just seems like an odd, in my opinion, text to shoot to Troy on June the 26th. Telling him he landed, he's back at home now, 2 a.m. Says he's around all day if you need to ask me something. That's weird. McCoy replied, "Okay, cool, buddy, get some rest, you know." And then Watts said, "LOL, you're crazy. Kids are out of control." Makes no sense. That's a very, very weird text to shoot out of the blue. Really, everything Chris said is weird. Okay, June the 27th, 2018, Shanann and her daughters flew to North Carolina, where they stayed with family for 42 days. June the 26th, 2018, 17:25 hours, 5:25 p.m. Shanann's phone received a calendar alert with her flight information. Flight WN137 from Denver to RDU. June the 30th, Watts searched the internet for information on tickets to Vandermeer Speedway. So see, pretty quickly after Shanann left, Chris was already wanting to go to some races. And he was looking for tickets as early as June the 30th for Vandermeer Speedway. July the 4th, 2018, 8:56 a.m. Watts called Shanann and held a 19-minute conversation. Also on July the 4th, 22:44 hours, that would be 10:44 p.m., Watts watched the Independence Day fireworks with Nick and Amanda Thayer, their friends, in Thornton. He apparently stopped by their home afterwards because his phone connected to their router. July the 5th, 2018, 14:24 hours, 2:24 p.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 2.5-minute conversation. 18:37 hours, 6:37 p.m. Chris called Shanann and held a 13-minute conversation. She called him back moments later and held nearly a 7-minute conversation. July the 6th, 2018, 7:48 a.m. Josh Rosenberg asked Chris how bachelor life was going, and Chris replied he was exercising a lot, working extra weekend shifts, and the time was going by fast. 9:57 a.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 3-minute conversation. She called back shortly afterwards and held nearly a 4-minute conversation. Still, on July the 6th at 15:51 hours, 3:51 p.m., Chris called Shanann and held an 11-minute conversation, 16:51 hours, and that is 4:51 p.m. Shanann calls Chris and holds a 3-minute conversation, 18:35 hours, 6:35 p.m. Watts called Shanann and held a nearly 8-minute conversation, 18:52 hours. After Shanann told Chris to call Vivint, "Before I flip," Chris advised, they are sending a sensor for the garage door. I tried moving it like they said and it didn't work." So see, by July the 6th, Shanann was already upset that their garage door sensor wasn't working, and she was on him to call Vivint before she flipped out about it. Now keep in mind, this is July the 6th. The very first time that we're aware that Chris had any visitors to his home while she was away was July the 4th. And that is the first time that Nicole Kessinger went to his home. So did he think after she was there, or you got to come in through a different route this time? Because she did say she had been through both the garage and the door, but didn't remember which day or whatever she went through. So after that was Chris like, well, I need to disassemble or mess this up or something like that. Now we're talking about the sensor. Now a lot of people have said, oh, but even Frank said that the garage thing didn't work. Well, not necessarily the sensor that you can see and record things on the thing. What didn't work, we know, was the pad to put the code in on the garage door. Not necessarily the sensor to be able to see who's going in and out the garage door. And that, as you see here, the sensor for the garage door is what Shanann was so adamant about him getting fixed on July the 6th. And it seems like she would have, if it was like that when she left, she would have taken care of it, 1, before she left, and 2, she would have already been on him way before now to get it fixed. So it is my feeling that Chris disassembled or messed up that sensor purposely after July the 4th. And I believe Nicole probably went in through the front door on July the 4th. That is my feeling, which triggered him to think, I need to do something with the garage door, because that's really, I think, where he wanted her to go in at. And another thing that makes me think that is, like Nate said, Chris had been parking Shanann's car up the road, a few streets up the road. It wasn't even in the garage. Well, why not? I personally believe Nicole was there way more than 2 times. And I believe the reason Shanann's car wasn't in the garage is because Nicole's was. And I believe that's the way she was going in. And I still believe she was there way more than twice. There's even the likely, and I even question sometimes in my own mind, was, did they really always stay at her house? Or did they actually stay at Chris's house? You know, and she stayed in the basement, or she went in through the basement, because it's like if he was not home much and his truck wasn't really on the side of the road each night for that whole 6 weeks, well, wouldn't Nathan have said that? Wouldn't he have been like, well, I mean, you know, for 5-6 weeks, he wasn't even there. His truck was never even there every night. Wasn't even there. Wouldn't Betty have said, well, yeah, Dad's truck always parks right there, but, you know, it wasn't even there for like 5 or 6 weeks. So we just thought they went on vacation or something. But no, none of that was said. Nobody ever mentioned that Chris's truck wasn't there. Well, if it's true what he says and Nicole says, that they were always at her house, then why didn't anybody mention that? Because they were very well ask, have they seen anything, out of the ordinary? And I believe that would have been mentioned, most especially by Nate. Well, even Betty. Betty lived right on the other side, and she goes to the gym every morning. And she also says Dad's truck's there every morning, and it was unusual that he was even up and going that early, because it was generally just parked there, and he didn't even get up and go to work that early. Well, wouldn't she have said something like, well, for 5 weeks he wasn't even here. The truck wasn't even here in the mornings. Nobody said that. But yet, Nate did notice that he had been parking her car up the road, and it wasn't in the garage. Now, if he noticed that, he would have damn sure noticed Chris not ever being there, right? And the reason I think all that came to be is simply because Nicole's truck was in that garage, possibly every night, or damn near it, a lot of times. Why else would he have her car on the side of the road, a few blocks up, especially if, quote unquote, they had been having trouble with people breaking in vehicles around that area? Obviously, he wouldn't have had a damn very expensive Lexus just parked up the road, and he did. So yeah, personally, I think Nicole was there a whole lot more than twice. I think she spent many nights in that house, and I think her ride was hidden in the garage. I think that's why Chris disassembled the sensor, not the pad. We know the pad didn't work, but the sensor, the camera, that they both had the app on their phones and they could see anybody that was going in and out of the garage. And Shanann didn't like it at all, because she said right there, call them before I flip out. July the 7th, 2018, 9 a.m. Cassinger calls Watts and held a nearly 2-minute conversation. First call between the two that is found in his phone. Now, this is his personal phone. So the first call between them was on July the 7th at 9 a.m. 5 a.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 5-minute conversation. July the 7th, 2018, 12:09 a.m. Cassinger called Watts and held nearly a 2-minute conversation. This is the first call between those two found in his personal phone. 12:09 a.m. July the 6th. Okay, now, if he was with her at her house, why would she call him at 12:09 a.m. for 2 minutes? Or at his house either. Either one. If they were together, why would she have called him? July the 7th, 5 a.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 5-minute conversation. 5:49 a.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 3-minute conversation. 19:19 hours, July the 7th, and that is 7:19 p.m. Chris's phone connected with a router at a Rusty Bucket restaurant. July 7th, 18:01 hours, 6:01 p.m. Chris's phone logged coordinates at the Orchard Town Center, I-25 and 144th, Westminster. I confirmed a Rusty Bucket is at that location. 18:44 hours, 6:44 p.m. Chris's phone connected with a router at the Crushed Red restaurant. I confirmed one is located on Orchard Parkway. So obviously the Crushed Red and the Rusty Bucket must be right next door to each other. So at 6:01 p.m. they were at Rusty Bucket having dinner, and then at 6:44 p.m. they walked over to the Crushed Red restaurant. July the 8th, 2018, 5:15 a.m. Watts offered an excuse for not calling Shanann the night before. I'm sorry, boo. I fell asleep as soon as I got home. The heat killed me yesterday. I love you so much. So see, he obviously spent the night at Nicole's on July the 7th. But I don't think he did on July the 6th. Because at 12:09 a.m. July the 7th, she was calling him. That is the first call between the two in his phone. So At 12:09 a.m., Nicole thought, oh, what the hell, I'm just going to call his personal phone. This time, I'm not calling the work phone, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. No, I'm just going to call his personal phone this time. So she is the one that initiated it, of course, on July the 7th. And looks like he did spend the night with her, because the very next morning at 5:15 a.m., Chris is sending Shanann excuses of why he didn't answer her calls or call her the night before, because he was so busy with Nicole. And he claimed he went home and fell asleep as soon as he got there. After he sends this text, it looks like he immediately turns right around and calls her. 5:15 a.m. As soon as he sends this, he calls her. And he talks to her for 6 minutes. 16:44 hours. 4:44 p.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 22-minute conversation. Okay, now we're to July the 9th, 2018. 5:18 a.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 10-minute conversation. 16:11 hours. 4:11 p.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 14-minute conversation. 17:24 hours. 5:24 p.m. Chris made an unanswered call to Shanann. She called him back immediately, and they held nearly a 9-minute conversation. 2016 hours, and that is 8:16 p.m. Shanann discussed how Chris's mother gave Celeste ice cream with nuts in the ingredients. Shanann felt this was done in spite of Shanann's warnings of Celeste's food allergies. Shanann told Watts, "You should call your dad and tell him you do not appreciate your mother putting your daughter at risk today, nor do you like that she teased our girls. You should also say you don't appreciate her saying they have to learn they can't always get what they want," referring to the ice cream. "They are 2 and 4. Chris would reply, "I will call him and tell him what I think about this. It's not effing cool at all. Because it is the kids, I will set this right." July the 10th, 2018. 7:22 hours. 5:22 p.m. Shanann called Chris and held an 8-minute conversation. 19:32 hours. 7:32 p.m. Shanann asked Chris, "Are you okay? Like, you don't want to talk?" "I kept trying to talk, and I had to dig it out of you." Chris replied, "I'm fine, baby. The last few days at work have put a lot of responsibility on me with new people. I didn't mean to seem short, boo. I love you to the moon and back." Now keep in mind, Chris was always deleting his messages with Shanann for some reason the month of July. Shanann responded, "I miss you, and I feel like you just want to work out and run." Watts claimed running helps clear my mind. It's a way to free it all. Shanann didn't buy the excuse. "I wish my husband wanted to talk to me." July the 11th, 2018, 5:20 a.m. Shanann called Chris and had a 7-minute conversation. So see, it looks like she calls him every morning before he goes to work. Just to check in on him, make sure he got up, everything's going well, Looks like she called him every morning. 16:20 hours. 4:20 p.m. Shanann called Chris and had a 13-minute conversation. So on July the 11th, she called him before work and after he got off work. As you see, he's not initiating anything. He's not calling her first. He's not reaching out to her. She's the one doing all the reaching out. July the 12th, 2018, 4:46 a.m. Shanann made 2 unanswered calls to Chris. 5:16 a.m. Chris called Shanann and held a 10-minute conversation. July the 13th, 2018, 5:25 a.m. Chris called Shanann and held a 1-minute conversation. 5:32 a.m. Chris called Shanann and held a 4-minute conversation. 7:24 a.m. Chris logged into Facebook. 16:21 hours. 4:21 p.m. Chris called Shanann and held an 8-minute conversation. He called her back moments later and held a 12-minute conversation. July the 14th, 2018. Kessinger and Watts visited a Mustang museum in Boulder together. Okay, this is July the 14th. Before we get into this day, this is probably going to show a pretty active day. This is what Nicole says is only the second and last time she ever went to Chris's house. This would also be the day that she claims Dieter showed her up the stairs and she seen some pictures or something, and she was just so upset with Chris, and she runs out the door and she sits in her truck, she says, because they're in her vehicle, and she brought him home, I guess, after this thing they went to. Well, she was so mad, and she was sitting in her vehicle. She didn't leave. They sit there and text each other back and forth. And then Chris says that she just kind of lost it, and he had to talk her off of a ledge. And another important thing I think it is to mention about this date, not only was it their first spat, argument, whatever you want to call it, that Chris had to cuddle her and talk her off of a ledge and get her to come back in the house. It's also the day that she sprung it on Chris that she wanted to be the one to give him his first son. This is when she started that. Now keep in mind, if it's true, and I don't think many of us believe that at all, especially since Anthony Brown said he had seen them about 5 months prior talking very closely at work. But just going by what Chris and Nicole say, if they had actually really started talking and seeing each other and getting intimate around the first week of July, June the 29th, now keep in mind she left the very first weekend of July because it was her birthday, right? This is only July the 14th. So they haven't even, according to them, been intimately involved, not even a full 2 weeks. If you go by their story and their timeline, especially since she left from July the 1st through the 3rd for her birthday. So you're talking technically 10, 11 days they've been intimately involved according to their timeline. And July the 14th, she loses her shit because she sees that he has a happy home with a happy family and she wants to give him his first son. But yet they weren't wanting to rush things, she said. Whatever. So at 10:19 a.m., Chris logs into Facebook. And then on July the 14th, between 10:56 a.m. and 11:38 a.m., Chris takes photographs of assorted vehicles. Metadata proved he was at the Shelby American Collection in Boulder. So he was at the car museum with Nicole. 12:46 p.m. until 1:08, Shanann made 4 unanswered calls to Chris in that length of time. 13:17, 1:17 p.m. Chris answered her 5th call and held a 1.5-minute conversation with her. I guess he ducked off to the bathroom or something so he could answer her phone call. And I'm going to jump in here and I want to say something else. This day is a crazy day. This is a very full day for these two. I also have my doubts that any photo or any of the like is what made Nicole that mad after they had gotten back to his house. Because if you will look at this, you will see that Shanann was calling him back to back. He was having to either walk off to answer her call or go into a bathroom or something of the sort. Well, I think while they were having their little outing and their day together, and Shanann continuing to call him back to back to back, it was just pissing Nicole off. Seriously. And on a metaphor, okay, I'm going to use a metaphorically fly on the wall here, following them around that day while they were at the museum. I don't really think it had a damn thing to do with her running upstairs with Dieter, seeing a photo or nothing like that. I think she was fuming inside about this. And I have a feeling they just left the museum early because she was pissed. And when they got back to his house, she was still mad. She used whatever photo or whatever it was in that house to act like she was mad at him and have her little fit. I believe they were already in a bit of an argument, a silent treatment, all that kind of stuff before they got back to the house. I believe she was already mad. She was already feeling like she was second fiddle because Shanann kept ringing his phone off the hook back to back to back. And he was actually, as you see there, 1 minute he did walk off or go to the bathroom or something and talk to her for at least a minute and a half. And Nicole didn't like it. I mean, the attention was supposed to be on her, but there was a distraction with his wife. That's my opinion. 1:25 p.m. Chris searched the internet for 24 Carat Bistro and the restaurant's menu. I confirmed this restaurant is located on Briggs Street in Erie, or 10 miles south of the Shelby Museum. So he was trying to find some place to take her to eat after he got off of the phone with Shanann. 14:36 hours to 15:27 hours. So 2:36 p.m. to 3:27 p.m. Shanann continued to make unanswered calls to Watts. So see, that's nearly an hour flat, almost like 9 minutes or something like 11, I don't know. But almost a complete hour that Shanann was really just calling him back to back to back, and he just wasn't answering. 15:37 hours, 3:37 p.m. Cassinger called Chris and held nearly a 5-minute conversation. Well, he answered her call, but you see what that was? That's when they're back at his house, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that's by the time they had already gotten back to Chris and Shanann's house. She was sitting in her car, maybe, and that's when he talked her off of a ledge. 16:02 hours, 4:02 p.m. Cassinger called Chris and held a 43-minute conversation. Well, he's definitely answering her calls July the 14th, but he's not answering Shanann's. They were together all day at this Shelby Car Museum, and she brought him back home. And so anyway, 43 minutes there. 16:26 to 17:23. 4:26 p.m. until 5:23 p.m. During this call and just afterwards, Shanann made 4 more unanswered calls to Chris. So he's not answering anything Shanann is calling. He's just letting the phone beep while he talks to Nicole, or just completely ignoring her altogether. Finally, at 17:23 hours, 5:23 p.m., Chris finally called Shanann and he held a 10-minute call. 18:14 hours, 6:14 p.m. Chris spends nearly 2 hours online researching Dave Bunk Minerals, a mineral dealer located in Arvada, and dioptase, which is a translucent emerald mineral. So, since they got into it that day and they were so uptight and Nicole was so off the hook and so mad and wanting to give him his first son, and he talks her off of a ledge, and he's pretty much ignored Shanann all day. So after their little Shelby Car Museum, the day kind of just went to hell. So Chris, later that evening, he spends the evening looking for crystals and rocks and dioptase. I hope I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, but It is a crystal to buy for Nicole, a gift for her because her feelings were hurt that day. July the 15th, 2018, 7:16 a.m. Chris called Shanann and held an 8-minute conversation. 11:37 a.m. Shanann calls Chris and held nearly a 5-minute conversation. 12:36 p.m. Chris calls Violet and held a 20-minute conversation. He entered Violet into his contacts following the call. Now remember, he had just got off the phone with Violet after speaking with them for 20 minutes. And then at 12:50 p.m. he took 3 images of his basement from different perspectives, different angles, to capture the layout. 16:19 hours, 1:19 p.m. Shanann called Chris and held a 6-minute conversation. 1:35 p.m. Chris took 3 more images of his basement from different perspectives. I believe he was documenting the work he spent cleaning and organizing the basements as evidenced in the photos. So that sounds to me like whoever wrote this report, since they said, I believe they knew what he was doing, is maybe Shanann was talking to him about cleaning up the basement. Now this is what this person thinks, and again, this is metaphorically, I don't know, I have no clue, but just from what it looks like they think is him and Shanann had talked about cleaning up the basement, and he took images of it like before and called Shanann and said, this is before. I don't know. Then I believe he was documenting the work he spent cleaning and organizing the basements as evidenced in the photos. Maybe he was wanting to show her what he was doing, that he was indeed cleaning the basement. Who knows? I really don't think that's why he took the photos. I personally really have no clue why he took the photos of the basement, but that is what this person thinks. I believe is what that means. Okay, July the 16th, 2018, 5:33 a.m. Shanann called Chris and held nearly a 5-minute conversation. 8:35 a.m. Chris took 3 photographs from an Anadarko corporate office in Platteville, one of which was of a sunflower near what appears to be his work truck. This would be the last time he took photographs of flowers. I suspect he took these 4 and shared them with Kessinger. She has an affinity with floral and had a wide assortment of flower pictures in her phone. 12:26 p.m. to 12:28 p.m. Chris resumed his internet search of Dave Bunk minerals. 13:29 to 13:33 hours. 1:29 to 1:33 p.m. Chris searched Google on topics like touch-up paint bottles, Toyota dealership, Highway 85, and Toyota dealership, Brighton. And then it says Kessinger owned a Toyota. 15:46 until 16:24. Shanann and Chris exchanged several phones, holding nearly 33 minutes in conversations. July the 17th, 2018, 5:22 a.m. Shanann called Chris and held a conversation. 10:12 a.m. until 11:46 a.m. Chris took several images of trees and grassland flowers in an open prairie just north. 1:37 p.m. Chris took a photograph of his new work boots, identical to those found in the Lexus during that search. July the 18th, 2018, 5:26 a.m. Chris answered a call from Shanann and held a 4-minute conversation. 5:34 a.m. Chris called Shanann and held nearly a 4-minute conversation. 9:46 a.m. For the very first time, Chris transferred assorted images of Kessinger, some semi-nude, into the secret calculator app. Certain images were taken by Chris as evidenced by his reflection in a mirror in the back. And here you will see that photo. Also, you will see all the different images, and there's so many. So yeah, just that day at 9:46 a.m., all of those images you see there, there's the different numbers. Each one of those represents a different photo numerous of times. Additional images of interest found in this application with no associated dates are listed below. Many are duplicates of others, soon to be discussed in this review. These photographs include images of Kessinger in various stages of undress, their trip to the Great Sand Dunes, and other assorted. And again, as you see here, each one of these, each numbers represent a photo. And they're pretty much ordered. Like here on the very top row, you will see from 65 to 70. So there's some missing there that he didn't put in the out. And then it goes from 70 to 72. So 71 is not there either. Okay, still on July the 18th at 19:26, which is 7:26 p.m., Chris Googled Short Haven, North Myrtle Beach. My search found a long list of companies offering vacation rentals in that area. Okay, moving into July the 19th, 2018, 5:34. Chris called Shanann and held a 10-minute conversation. So far, the whole time she's been gone, we've always seen where she called him first in the mornings between 5:30, 6 o'clock, while he's on his way to work. Well, this morning, her first, and held almost a 10-minute conversation. 10:41 a.m., Watts called an unidentified contact, no name and no number, and held a 7-minute conversation. So there's no name and no number for this person that he called at 10:41 a.m. on July the 19th, 2018. Okay, at 20:35 hours, at 8:35 p.m., 20:35 hours, Chris logged into Facebook. July the 20th, 2018, 1:59 a.m., Chris logged into Snapchat. Toy OPA Group Pickaboo. 5:04 p.m. Chris Googled for the best beer in Colorado. 5:09 p.m. Chris asked Christina, Meacham, Shanann's friend, do you want me to talk solely about the experience with Burn? Or say, I've been on Thrive for over 3 years, lost 65 pounds, and then go into the Burn experience? Christina would reply saying, the experience with Burn, the difference it made, and what you have felt. The call starts at 8:30 from 5:23 p.m. until 7:57 p.m. Watts Googled for a CVS pharmacy. Watts searched Google for a CVS pharmacy in Westminster. DC Oaks Brew House and Eatery. The Vandermeer ticket office for the NHRA Nationals scheduled for July the 21st, 2018. And 24-hour fitness locations in Westminster and Thornton. Now see, this is the searches he done between those hours, which is odd. He's very interested in what's going on in Westminster. The DC Oaks Brew House and Eatery. We also know just a bit before he was looking for the best beer in Colorado. So I'm assuming that search must have led him to DC Oaks Brew House and Eatery in Westminster. Then he looked up the address, I guess, for the Vandermeer ticket office for the national schedule that they did go to, and 24-hour fitness locations in Westminster and Thornton. Okay, now these searches are odd, and seeing between those hours looks like he must have did a lot of searching. But what gets me, why did he Google to find the address or where The CVS pharmacy was in Westminster. And what's he need at a pharmacy? You know, had somebody been to the doctor or an emergency room or something to that effect, and maybe gotten some pain medication, Oxy maybe, and a 24-hour fitness in Westminster and Thornton. Okay, so it looks like the plan was Westminster. Absolutely. There was a plan to go there for whatever reasons. But while there, he wanted to know where the CVS was and the 24-hour fitness location there. So it sounds like him and Nicole was probably going there together. But what did they want at the CVS pharmacy? I mean, it wasn't a drink. You can get a drink anywhere. Wasn't, and he wanted the best beer. So I wonder if that CVS is where the Oxy may have came from originally, Is that where he got it to take with him? If so, whose prescription was it? Did he go to a doctor or a emergency room, or is it Nicole's prescription? One of their buddies that may have been with them? Who knows? But he wanted to know where the pharmacy there was, as well as the gym. Very odd. And then, at 1812 hours, now this is in between these searches here he's doing, okay? Because the searches are from 1723 to 1957, but at 1812, right in the middle of these searches, he transferred assorted images of Nicole, some semi-nude, into his secret calculator app. And they included the image below. This one with numerous of times. And I would still like to know where that is taken. Some people say that it is taken at her dad's. But if you look closely at the wall, I don't know. To me, it just looks like it could be taken in a doctor's office, because it's like the stucco sort of wall and the painting behind them. It just looks like something you would see in a doctor's office. And it looks like they're both dressed up, decently well. So it doesn't look like they've just been hanging out or hiking or just whatever. It looks like they're dressed up pretty nicely. July the 21st, 2018, Chris and Kessinger went to Bandemere and the Rooftop Tavern in Morrison. Also, July the 21st, 7:43 a.m., Shanann called Chris and held a 20-minute conversation. 10:34, Chris transferred images of Kessinger into the secret calculator. That was 2 different images. 13:58 hours, not found in Chris's phone. He sent a message to Shanann. Headed out to the track, boo. I will text you when I get there. With no mention of this in his previous messages to Shanann, Chris likely provided a concocted ruse regarding his plans to visit the Speedway via an earlier phone call. 18:18 hours, 20:39. Using his phone, Chris filmed assorted clips of dragsters at Bandemere. Metadata, I recognize the Speedway images. And there's several different, there's a couple of images and there's also videos. .mov, that would be videos. Throughout this time frame, Watts searched Google on topics like top fuel dragster burnout and top fuel dragster goes airborne. July the 22nd, 2018, 7:52 a.m. Chris called Shanann and held a 12-minute conversation. Shanann called him back afterwards and held an additional 14-minute conversation. 9 a.m. Chris Googled for Home Depot near me, Broomfield. At 9 a.m. he had to have been at Nicole's home. 13:48 hours, 1:48 p.m. Chris Googled for Spanish dancing near me, red wine made in Argentina, and the Cheesecake Factory. Well, Spanish dancing. It's been said that Nicole does have Spanish. She is Spanish, part of her heritage is Spanish. And I think she was proud of that fact, obviously, because of just some of the things we've seen here out, like him calling her his sexy empanada, as well as she even signed off one of her little emails. 15:25 hours. Shanann called Chris and held an 18-minute conversation. She called back afterwards and held an additional 21-minute conversation. July the 23rd. We're going to stop right here. And when we come back with part 51, we will start on July the 23rd, 2018 phone records. Okay, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciate a thumbs up if you feel so inclined. And I hope you have a great day, night, evening, wherever you may be. And until next time, this is Unjustified.